Alex, what did you have as your worst song this year?
It's a little bit of a cheaterton.
Okay.
Because we talked about, we're like, we mostly keep it to the show unless there's something below away. And we didn't really talk about this one, but I think probably the worst song in a year where I felt blessed to find some stuff. Young Gun, Silver Fox, Rolling Back. That's a song that took over my life. My Donald Fagen stuff. I keep it positive. I consume content that's worth my time. And then every now and then the culture is like, you really do need to take a detour and watch this. We promise you it's worth it. And it's pure brain rot. And this year's worst song is Facts by the Canadian rapper Tom MacDonald, with a nice, feisty, zesty appearance by Ben Shapiro.
Oh God. I was like, once you said the Canadian rapper, I was like, I know who this is going to be. Is that all he does is just very right-wing, anti-woke songs,
yeah,
right?
He's Canadian, but he's like hard. He goes up to those people that are like, fuck, wokeness is ruining this country. And he's like, am I going to scratch that itch for you? You get all of the buzzwords. He's like, you can't change your gender, talking about defund the police, BLM, patriotism, pronouns, like just like buzzword city. You compare this, and I mean this very earnestly, you compare this to Rich Men North of Richmond. This is the craziest thing anyone's ever admitted. You compare this song to Rich Men North of Richmond, Rich Men North of Richmond becomes like a classic. Because you look at that, and I'm sorry, the line, I wish politicians would look out for minors and not just minors on an island somewhere. Hot fire. The problem with him is he derailed himself with the fudge rounds.
Yes.
Which is like, dude, it's the funniest thing in the world to hear a Southern accent say bags of fudge rounds. But then you're like, oh, he's being an asshole. I can't really enjoy it. You look at a song like that, which for better or worse was kind of trying to say something in its own unique, folksy little way. But this song is just like meant to gin up outrage for the grift. And Ben Shapiro, who hates rap, raps in the middle of this thing. And it just sounds like someone like set a fucking soundboard to do it.
Yeah.
I just spit facts and my account. It's just an awful, dumb piece of shit song, and should all be ashamed of themselves for making it a bad song, PT.
I feel like it would sound like Alvin and the Chipmunks rapping is like what I'm picturing here.
Basically, Christmas time is here. Time for toys and time for cheer.
Well, I want to thank you, Alex, for allowing me a loophole through which I could cannonball through on a couple of these categories here. So there was an episode of this show in the if you go to the playlist podcast 2024. So it's in the canon. There was an episode early this year that I was not on, that you did solo. And my worst song is The Night Flight by Donald Fagen.
You fucker. You fucker. Have you even listened to that song?
No, I haven't.
You motherfucker. Oh my God. Oh, I'm usually the quarterback of ripping up, being like, Tanner, let me tell you how fucked Fish is. Fish is fucked. And I get a lot of joy out of it, but this is the one that hits me center mass. The Steely Dan Fagen stuff. Not even Elvis Costello gets me that bad. It's Fagen. Night Flies. You haven't listened to anything off that album?
No.
Oh my God.
I don't plan to. I'm gonna be so steadfast in my ignorance on this one.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God. You wouldn't loophole. Would you even do it for a reaction video?
I might do it for a reaction video.
Okie dokie then.
Yeah. But you may regret that.
Oh well, maybe not. Maybe not, Jeff. Well, anyone can be saved, anyone can be healed.
Well, do we move on to the best song?
Yes. Moving right along.
Well, I have a pick that I think is my pick, and then I have an honorable mention.
So do I.
I'm gonna let you guess what my main pick is for best song of the year.
I think there's a small possibility we did the same thing. I think you're giving it to Not Like Us by Kendrick Lamar, and your honorable mention is Holy Holy by Jordy Griep.
Jordy Grief is not the honorable mention, but the Kendrick Lamar pick is correct.
Okay, had a feeling.
Yes. So Kendrick Lamar, for obvious reasons, Not Like Us, absolutely took over the planet. I remember the day that came out. I must have listened to that song like 15 times. I'm not even sure in the course of this year like how many times I've actually listened to that song, but it's probably in the several dozen at this point. I know there is not a song this year other than I guess maybe like Pink Pony Club or Good Luck Babe
Or
like
Espresso or something.
or Espresso, one of those, but there's no song that was bigger than Not Like Us. There might be other songs that could have been considered as big or whatever, but the cultural impact that Not Like Us had is unlike anything that I've seen in my lifetime. Just the idea of taking somebody that was as famous and successful as Drake and immediately kind of making him a joke.
Put him in a body bag, dude.
Like I can't, and I know there was other songs previous to that and everything, and like there was a whole lead up to Not Like Us getting released, but the moment that Not Like Us came out, everything, whatever side you were on, like it was over. Like everybody knew it was over. And I don't know if I've ever witnessed a moment like that with two people that are at the level, the echelon that those two are at the time it happened.
Yeah, the song that took over the country over the summer was accusing you of being a PDF file. So there's not a lot of coming back for that for Drake. I think even his fans and supporters were like, we might have to shut it down and go back to Toronto, y'all. This is Circle the Wagons is not good because this is coming during a year where we have this theme of like skeletons are coming out of Rap's closet. So these are allegations, to my knowledge. We don't necessarily, we have things that happened in the past, the DMs with Millie Bobby Brown when she was quite young. What was that about? Allegedly, blanket allegedly to everything. Like, who knows? But now you can never use a certain chord in your songs ever again. You can probably never use minor chords at all ever again in your music.
That's wild.
Kendrick shut that door to you.
Yeah, that's what's crazy about that song is just the effect that it had. Because there's been times like Eminem basically, there's a reason most people have never heard of Cannabis, the rapper, is because before he even had a chance to like hit the ground running, Eminem already had like ended his career. That like look at what 50 Cent did to Ja Rule. Look at there's a lot of instances like what Drake did to Meek Mill. There's a lot of instances of like a big artist taking down a lesser known artist and really like doing some damage to their career. But rarely do you see two artists at the top of their game, considered among the best of their group, of their generation, go at it and have one of them win so handily. Because you had back in the day, Jay-Z and Nas, they had their thing, but there's people that'll say one side one, there's people that'll say the other one. But one thing that for sure is that they are both looked at as luminaries of rap music still. Neither one of them got like shut down totally in their career. LL Cool J has been in battles with just about everybody and is still fine. It's still looked at as one of the luminaries of hip hop. Drake, the entire like way the public views him has changed because of this. That is wild that a song could have that kind of effect.
Yeah. Kendrick made Drake an irrelevant joke.
Yeah.
My question that I have to wrap this part of it up is, do you think that when like Kendrick Lamar beats Drake and Drake beat Meek Mill, do you think it's like Highlander and like whenever any one of them wins, they get like all the powers down the line? So like now Kendrick's got Meek Mill's essence and Drake's power, and he's just going to be like rapping at an elite level until someone comes for him.
I wonder who it would be. Who would be able to rap well enough to come for them?
Mitchell Abraham.
Yeah, I was gonna say either him or MC Meezy. He went out of retirement.
Yeah, MC Meezy on the ones and twos.
Yeah. Well, for my honorable mention here, this is one that I, just a song that for whatever reason is one I still listen to all the time, and it's Lil Homies by Vince Staples from the Dark Times album. I mean, it's
Interesting.
just an absolute bop. It's got a great message. Life hard, but I go harder. You know, it's just like such a simple, easy message. And he's like, don't crash out. You know, it's just very positive, very uplifting. I like what Vince Staples is about as a person. You know, I think he just wants to do the things he's interested in. He made an appearance on Abbott Elementary. You know, it's probably going to be a great comedy writer as well at some point. You know, I really think Lil Homies by Vince Staples, if you're having a bad day, if you're feeling down, put that song on. See if it don't change your perspective on some things.
It's another album you've now convinced me to go back and give another
Mhm.
shot to, because I remember liking it. I think I gave it a solid and hearty stream it. But you're right. The second you started talking about that song, I immediately heard "Life Hard, but I Go Harder."
Mhm.
Just immediately heard the whole thing. So that's another one I got to go back and give another look to. And my runner-up was what I was like, there's an outside chance that Jeff and I went in the same direction with this, getting down the nut cutting time here. So my pick was Jordy Griep, Holy Holy, for like a personal heart pick. Like, you look at the best song, for better or worse, I'll incorporate like its cultural impact as well as its quality as a song. So like Not Like Us was just like undeniable, but something
Mhm.
like Holy Holy was undeniable to me. And I remember hearing it for the first time and being like, this is sizzling.
Mhm.
And then going back and being like, oh, it's one of the guys from Black Midi, and I remember liking Black Midi. And that one single got me hooked, and then that whole album came out, and it was just like, let's just say we'll get into it. We'll get into it. But
Yes.
Holy Holy was the gateway to that.
Yes. And I'm excited because I think as we move along here, I think we're going to start agreeing on some things. And I'm looking forward to that. Well, Alex, who did you have as your worst artist?
Worst artist for me, dishonorable mention to Ice Spice. Ice Spice is the audio equivalent of catching the crabs from a public bus station toilet seat. Just awful stuff.
Shout
And
out to the song with Pink Pantheress, though.
Pink Pantheress is great, but
Boy's a Liar is a great song.
well, Pink Pantheress unfortunately got some shit on her working with Ice Spice. So not a fan.
Maybe literally.
Maybe literally. With a song like You Think You the Shit, You're Not Even the Fart.
Well, you could have picked a worse example. That's pretty funny.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
Allegedly. But then my main pick, for the reasons that we've already kind of discussed, is Drake. I mean, Drake, they got rest in peace, my friend. Kendrick Lamar put him in a grave and then showered him with dirt. We talked about like just the sheer impact of Not Like Us and what it did to Drake, and he's a joke. He's a fucking joke now. Like everybody's clowning on him now, and he's always going to have his friends and supporters and fans and whatnot. But I think you're not going to see that number grow. I think you're only going to see it dwindle, because it's only really while he's cool and making good stuff that you're that invested in him, right? If Taylor Swift suddenly started to suck shit, like bad, like undeniably bad, like Captain Beefheart levels of incomprehensible, but with none of the artistic vision behind it, they'd leave in droves. And she did like 3 or 4 solid albums of that quality, they'd leave in droves. So I don't see how it gets. Quality people aren't going to want to work with Drake anymore. Getting the rub from Drake isn't going to mean as much. He's going to need one eventually. So maybe there's like a Drake comeback arc somewhere down the line. But at this point, rest in peace.
Well, my worst artist also starts with a D and ends with Arnold Fagan.
Are you fucking shitting me, dude? You didn't even listen to the albums.
I didn't realize that how much it was going to make you pop a gasket, but knowing that now, I would have for sure still done the same thing.
Oh my god. Oh my god, The Nightfly is a seminal album, and Kamakiriad is a triumphant return.
I'm sure it is full of semen.
Multi-year. Oh, Jeff, don't give them ideas for more songs. We talked about Cousin Dupree. It's a song about fucking your cousin. It's not on the Nightfly though. The Nightfly is top to bottom wholesome content. It's incredible jazz, rock and roll, pop. You get it all with the Nightfly, and you haven't even listened to it.
I know. I've heard all I need to hear.
Oh,
Book it. Book it.
I'm gonna hit you with a reaction at some point. I laid my
Okay.
cards on the table.
Okay. Well, how about we get right into, because I want to get into the nitty gritty here. How about
All
we
right,
get through a best artist this year for you?
My best artist is a tie. There's one very like linear technical one, which is gonna kind of potentially spoil my best album, so I'll hold on to it. And I'll talk about the person that I would say is the primary awardee, which is Billie Eilish and Phineas, because I think they really were able to push their thing forward in a very interesting way. In many ways, like you said, Short and Sweet was like Sabrina Carpenter's fifth or sixth album. So in many ways, though, a breakout album. Chapel Roan had a breakout album. But Billie Eilish has been like consistent quality for a while now, and we got something totally new that wasn't a radical reinvention. And I think it was kind of the beginning, because in this same year, Phineas released an album. I have not listened to it yet, but this was kind of the year, I think, where people started putting a lot more respect on Phineas' name. And that relationship between the two of them is so important. Those two creepy little critters, I love them. And the music they make, they're doing some pretty experimental stuff for pop, which is cool. And a lot of the songs on the albums are very different. So for me, I think it was the year of Billie Eilish and Phineas in terms of the best work from an artist I saw.
Yes, I will say the kind of rhythms that he comes up with are like truly great. And it's not from the album, the Hit Me Hard and Soft album, but the Bury a Friend song is just incredible. And like the breakdown in Bad Guy is incredible. As much as you hear that song, it doesn't matter. Like it's still just a bop. And I think when it can sound like still relevant after a few years, and all it was treated as was a regular old pop song when it came out, like that shows the strength of it. My best artist of the year is going to be somebody I've already talked about, is Kendrick Lamar. I think there is a lot of good choices for this one. I think Billie Eilish is a great choice for this one. I think you could also throw Chapel Roan and Sabrina Carpenter in there. Very easily could put those folks in there too. The reason I'm picking Kendrick Lamar is because I just think, again, the overall across industries cultural impact was made this year by Kendrick Lamar. I think Not Like Us became such a part of the lexicon. Like, I don't know anybody that hasn't heard that song. Like, maybe my dad hasn't heard that song, but anybody under 40 has heard that song. And almost everybody to a person is on Kendrick Lamar's side in this. So you go from somebody that's like, Drake was one of the biggest music stars in the world. I mean, it was like him, Taylor Swift, Rihanna for a while. There's Beyonce. There's a few that are like this echelon of people that will sell out any venue, anytime, anywhere. And he was one of them. And to have that completely, like, the rug pulled out from under him, like it was a Hawk Tuah crypto coin, just got the rug absolutely pulled out from under him. And I've never seen anything like that. And that's why, to me, Kendrick is the artist of the year.
I can't argue with that. I can't argue with a lick of that. Because again, GNX, as we talked about last week or whenever this was, that album was artistic. It was enjoyable to me because it was crafted like a piece of art. And if that sounds pretentious, then so is all your favorite music. Because it's a fucking compliment. God damn it! It was like a production triumph for Antonov. It was a content triumph for a Pulitzer winner. So it's hard to argue with the fact that after the year he had, capping it off with this like feel good victory lap, aggressive, wild kind of fuck you album, it would be hard to argue with him as artist of the year.
Yeah, that's, to me, he had the biggest impact for me for sure. Now let's get through our worst album of the year so that we can get to the really good stuff here, Alex. So my worst album, and this is one that I think this is its second appearance, but not for a good reason. This is The Death of Slim Shady, Coup de Grace by Eminem. I thought this year was the worst album.
Yeah, that one was a fucking slog. It was an absolute slog. I briefly thought about it too. It didn't make me actively angry as it made me bored and just like, yeah, deeply, deeply bored and just hoping for like someone to Calgon take me away. So I didn't like that one, but you want to talk about an album that actively pissed me off because it's the thing is like I could have been like that Blackberry Smoke, revisited it a couple times. I'm not, some of the songs are
Mhm.
good, I'm not that crazy. That's not a worst to me. The worst thing, the most embarrassing, fucking disappointing, insulting thing that we listened to all year for me was Kings of Leon. Can we please have fun?
Yeah, that's pretty awful.
That album sucked shit. Talk about resting on your laurels when, let's be honest with ourselves, folks, your laurels weren't much to begin with. Okay. I'm sorry. I know a lot of people, Tanner and Zach, who love Kings of Leon. And I've kind of gone along to get along and been like, yeah, nice indie pop innovators. I just think that there's this canard that they're the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be when it comes to like indie rock. And I just don't buy it. I don't buy it with them. I don't buy it with the 1975. I think the whole thing is kind of pretentious, and
Mhm.
they were as like pretentious as could be on this album. How low effort do you have to be like, are you a Mustang or a Kitty, and not even give any kind of inclination as to like what that could be? The
Yeah,
song's not clever enough to be that vague,
yeah.
and the music's not good, and it was some low effort bullshit.
Yes, I can stand behind you on that one too. That album was pretty awful. I think just the same reason that it won most disappointing thing this year for me with the Eminem album was the same reason it won worst album. It was just because what I wanted and what I got were way too different.
Absolutely.
Way too different. Well, let's get into the good stuff, Alex. The reason that everybody is here, the reason that we do this week in and week out is to bring these albums, and at the end of the year we get to look back and think about which one we liked the best. So I actually wrote out, I've got a list of 3 here. I've got 2 honorable mentions, no rankings here except for the one that I picked as album of the year. But my honorable mentions, and I think it might give away who my pick for best album of the year is Passage du Désir by Johnny Blue Skies, one of my honorable mentions, and Rise and Fall of the Midwest Princess by Chappell Roan were my 2 honorable mentions. Now I'm guessing you probably have some honorable mentions.
I listen, there were a lot of fine contenders. Hey, anyone could have been it. But there was actually really one that stood head and shoulders above the rest for me. I might be giving away the ghost on mine, but I will say Kendrick was my runner-up.
Okay. Does that mean, Alex, that the new sound by Jordy Greep is your album of the year?
I think that it is, Jeff. I think that Jordy Creep, the new sound, was my album of the year. I decided to be selfish on this one. This is a category where you've got a lot of flexibility, and I took mine and I put my ankles behind my ears and I said, come on in, Jordy Creep, the water's fine. I love this album. I listen to it all the time, start to finish. Jordy Greep was in my top 5 for Spotify because I just crushed it so hard from the second that we did it.
Mhm.
Not this is much of a point to you, but it's got that Donald Fagen jazziness. Not even Steely Dan, because it's distinctly Fagen, especially in like the way that Jordy Greep delivers stuff. It's got like the Frank Zappa kind of playfulness and experimentation. It's got David Byrne's flair for the flavor of world music, some like Talking Headsy stuff, a lot of experimentation that bridged the gap from like Black Midi's like particular brand of chaotic rock and roll to this like endlessly inventive, experimental. I don't even know what you call it. I'm just going to call it an indie album. That's what it is to me, like an indie film, an indie album. You can call it an indie drama or indie pop. It's an indie album to me. It defies categorization. It has so much wonderful stuff that I love in its DNA. So an album like this only comes along every so often. I was struck. I'm in love. So for me, the new sound, Jordy Griep, my big old selfish pick for the best album I listened to all year.
Yes, and that was also my pick. And this one, it was honestly a no-brainer. Like I didn't even really have to consider, like even something like Johnny Blue Skies or something like Chaperone, where we were both like very bullish on a lot of these albums this year. Like we were spoiled this year. You know, we had a lot of great ones, short and sweet, great pop album. You know, we did Jeff Rosenstock to start off the year. That album was fantastic. You know, we've had a lot of positive energy on the show this year. Nothing that we've ever done on this show, not just this year, no album that we've ever done on this show has floored me like the new sound by Jordy Griep. I'd never heard anything like it previously in my life. I think the closest thing maybe is that Jeff Rosenstock album with just its propensity to just be kind of off the wall and crazy. You know, we also had the Idols Tank album this year. I don't know how exactly you pronounce that album title. That Fontaine's DC album was fantastic. And we had a King Gizzard album this year.
Yes, King Giz was in contention with me.
King Giz, I'm just giving a general honorable mention to.
Yes.
Like I couldn't find a category where I could really like honestly say that they won the award for that, but I think they overall deserve a little honorable mention here. But like Jordy Griep in a year where we had a King Giz, Jeff Rosenstock, we had Fontaine's DC, we had the Idols, like bands that are not known for a very linear brand of rock and roll or indie music in general. And still Jordy Griep was the most groundbreaking thing that I've heard this year. And probably the most groundbreaking thing that I've heard that we've done on this show.
That was like the last thing I was expecting you to say. I thought for sure, I'm like, he'll give it to Kendrick, which makes sense because if it's your artist of the year, and he's run away with a lot of categories here at the best and worst tonight. So that kind of goes with my thing where I was like, I have a tie for best artist, one that was really like my artistic reaction, and one that is like very linear, which would be at the Oscars, shouldn't the best director and the best picture match up? Like if it's best picture, well, the best director did the best job at making the best movie. Ostensibly, people are divided. I tend to fall in that category, but not necessarily hard and fast. So I had the wiggle room to pivot to Billy, but my heart pick was Jordy Griep. Like you said, and I already talked about it, but endlessly inventive, truly groundbreaking, and maybe not a lot of people will listen to this. Maybe he'll get him on the next one. Or the next one after, the next one after that. And the next. That's from Holy Holy. You guys fucking snuck that one in on you. Yeah, because King Giz, by the way, congratulations on the new album you put out while we were recording this episode, I'm sure. Like they're very inventive. They're always going to be enjoyable, but Jordy Griep just did so many different things on this album. He does everything, like so many different things, like within the song. I'll never forget the first time I hit play on Holy Holy. And just we're off to the races. I think creating something that combines so many of my favorite artists and influences. There's a dash of Khruangbin in here, a sprinkling of Tame Impala. I mean, like in small ways. He just manages to do a lot of stuff. So I'm surprised and plumb pleased that you had the same reaction to this being the album of the year. What a time for the Griep.
Yeah, I think I feel like the past years, I feel like the albums that we pick is just somebody that really crushed it in their genre. And it was just like, you kind of have to pick one. So like, there's a lot of great ones to pick from. So let me just pick this one. This was the first year where I just did not think there was anything else that deserved to be considered with it. There was honorable mentions of people that really crushed it, like Rise and Fall of Midwest Princess. Fantastic album. You can hear us talk all about it on the episode we did just on that one. Passage du Desire. You can hear everything we love about Sturgill Simpson on multiple episodes of this program. But the new sound by Jordy Griep is the album of the year. Now, you won't see that at the Grammys. You probably won't see that many places, but if you are listening to this and you've gotten this far and you have not listened to the new sound by Jordy Griep, go have your mind blown like ours was.
And when you're done, go to youtube.com/C/out on that line to watch our episode. First of all, I reacted to Holy Holy. You should watch that as well. But we also did an episode for the new sound. So go and check that out. Go and check out all of our 2024 content. I'm not trying to end the show. I'm just getting the plug in because we like to do a little, new old business, looking forward, looking back at the year, looking forward. We do that every year on the best and worst. And we're going to get to that part right now. So I'll keep it brief. Why don't you go and look at those other best and worst so you know what you're about to get right now in this moment at youtube.com/C/out on that line.
That was beautiful. And this was another great year for music, Alex. I might even say the best year yet.
The best year yet, but the best is yet to come.
Yeah, it was fantastic. I mean, you had Chappell Roan, you had Sabrina Carpenter. We got albums from Dua Lipa. We got albums from Eminem. Like, not all those were great, but we did get the Jordy Griep album. When you get something groundbreaking like that, it makes you look forward to who's going to do that next year. What artists do you want to hear us talk about in the new year? Do you want to see us do more of these album reviews? Do you want to see us do more of the reactions? Do you want more of the on the record stuff? I personally would love to see more of the on the record stuff. Get Tanner involved in the show a little bit more. I really, overall, just am appreciative to all the fans. We get over 2,000 followers, subscribers, I guess, on YouTube now. That's a big milestone. I feel like there's not a lot of channels that can say that. Overall, I just think it's been a very, very good year.
It's been a great year. The best year yet, and the best is yet to come. And speaking of yet to come, 2025, I know I said it last year and actually did the opposite of this, but I do really want to concentrate on making this a creative outlet. Now, I failed to do that this past year, staggeringly, where I was like, nice. I want to crank out really fun, cool, different content and use it as a creative outlet. And I somehow did less this year than I have in years past. I'm not going to let this become a bit and happen again. So in 2025, I got to figure out some interesting shit to do on here. Rope Jeff in, rope Tanner in, rope maybe some new friends in that you ain't seen yet. We talk about Matt Reno an awful lot. Folks, if you've ever seen, old videos of Nick Bockwinkel wrestling a bear.
Talk about a face for radio.
Talk about a face for radio and an ass for podcasting, baby. We might get new people into the mix and do different stuff. I've been thinking of skits and stuff, but honestly, I'm kind of bashful about them. Do I do them? Are they going to be corny? I don't know. I don't want to be corny. I don't want to be fucking cringe. So I got to get over these fears and just put stuff out there and trust that you guys will shred us if it's not good. But in 2025, I got to make that promise that we're going to do at least some minor committed experimentation with new things in the new year.
They might even shred us if it is good. So
love it.
Yeah, I say you got to damn the torpedoes. Full steam ahead.
Let's go. There are no bad ideas.
Well,
so to speak.
Yeah. Well, we can work on that. We'll work on that.
We'll figure it out. We'll talk about it more off air.
Well, folks, thanks again for another great year. On behalf of all of us here at Out on That Line, happy holidays, and we'll see you next year.